Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Larry and this is Your Own Adventure. In today's video, we'll be talking about a bike rack that was sent out to me by Vibrelli. It's called the Vibrelli V70 and it's an e-bike compatible bike rack. If you're interested in learning more about this thing and seeing me unbox it, then just keep on watching. Alright, so to start off, yeah, this is an e-bike compatible rack, and you might be looking at me like crazy because I don't really side with e-bikes, I'm not partial with them, and I don't ride them. But this is a really good rack if you're looking for something heavy duty, because e-bikes tend to be a little bit more heavy, and this thing could hold up to 130 pounds, which I think is really cool. But again, I haven't personally tried it with an e-bike, but I do have a heavy stump jumper. It's probably about 32 pounds and it has pretty wide tires on it right now, and I put it into the rack no problem. And the way that the rack is built, it has some wide tire mounting positions, so you could probably even put a fat tire bike in there, and if I could find a source of anybody using this rack, then I'll put it in this video as well. But again, it has a capacity of 130 pounds, and so that means like 60 pounds each. Now that I've gotten the e-bike discussion out of the way, I'm not huge on e-bikes again, but if you are into e-biking, then this is a really good option for you at $329. It is one of the lowest priced options in this class of rack. I would really compare it to a Thule rack or a Saris rack. It's very nice and heavy duty feeling. So if you're looking for something a little bit more budget friendly, then this will be a great place to look. But let's get into the pros and cons of this rack, and then you'll see me unboxing it throughout this video review. So I'm going to go ahead and list off 5 things that I think are really good about this rack, and then 5 things that aren't so good about this rack, and they're not in any particular order. I don't really, if you are a longtime member of this community, then you'll know that I don't have it all written down and reading off a script. I kind of think of it out of my head on the fly. I do have my iPad over here with some little notes on it, but there's not much going on in the way of me planning a script. I do that with some stuff, but whenever I'm talking opinions and review-based stuff, then it's usually just right off the cuff, and I'm doing it as I'm filming. So yeah, again, not really any order to the 5, but they are my hard 5 that I think are the most important to note about this rack. Let's get into them. Starting off with the pros, the number 1 is obviously that it's e-bike compatible, and that means not only that it is e-bike compatible, but it's going to be a lot more heavy duty and be able to carry and withstand a lot more weight. So that 130 pound max capacity is pretty awesome. My cat is like freaking out over here. I gotta go grab it. All right, trying to get into the closet. Anyways, that weight capacity that I keep on bringing up, 130 pounds, that's pretty awesome. I don't really know of many bikes that you're gonna find that are over 40 pounds, maybe some downhill bikes, but even so, you could use it for downhill, which is really cool too if you live in the mountains, unlike me. Number 2, it being $329, that's pretty affordable if you're looking for a really heavy duty rack. Within its class, it is one of the more affordable racks. It comes in like at least $50 below some of the other competitors' rack systems that they're offering. So if price is something that you're worried about, then check out Vibrelli. They'll have a lower price, and they're available on Amazon as well. So you can have something that's a little bit more convenient if you have an Amazon Prime membership as well. Okay, the third pro, and it's kind of both a pro and a con depending on which side you sit on, but I add it to both of the lists, is how secure and sturdy and how much different options for mounting and strapping there are on this rack. So you have the straps on the tires, you have the hook that comes down, and then you have a locking mechanism that definitely secures the hook, and then there's also a key that goes and locks the actual rack itself. So there is several different ways to secure your bikes if you're on the road. they also include a large cable lock system, so you could wrap it through the bikes. And that's, again, a pro and a con depending on where you stand and what you're looking for out of a rack. But I think it's a really great option, especially if you're putting a $4,000 e-bike on your car. Number 4, it offers a swivel point on the bottom of the rack, where you could actually move the rack away from your tailgate and swivel it down to get into your trunk or your tailgate. It's a really good option if you have a big SUV or a car, and it allows you to keep the bikes on the rack without having to deal with like scooting in between. If you have a rack system like this already and you're looking to upgrade, you'll know what I mean. It does get kind of tight back there, and that kind of segues into our last of the pros. And so yeah, the last of the 5 pros for this rack would be the fact that there's so much space in between the rack and the tailgate. If you have an SUV or something that's higher than just a standard car, you're going to really appreciate this more than I do, because again, trying to make this unbiased, it is a little bit too much for my vehicle. But if we're going to talk about that in the cons, if you have a car that is higher off the ground, you'll actually be a lot more happy with the space, but you have a lot of room behind your car still without having to squeeze in between the rack every time you need something out of the back of your car, whether it be a trunk or a tailgate. All right, let's get back into it and talk a little bit about the cons. We'll just do a rapid round of cons really quickly and talk about that. One of the biggest cons, and something that I was talking about in the pros list, is the amount of space that you get in the rear of your vehicle with this rack. Now, if you have a small vehicle like me, I have a Toyota Camry, you might have a 1 1/4 inch hitch receiver, which means you'll have to use an adapter to make this 2-inch post work with your hitch receiver. The Vibrelli has a 2-inch post that mounts into your receiver, and that extension adapter actually adds length to your rack, so it sits further back on your vehicle and potentially adds more weight to, or downward force to, the back of your vehicle, just because of how much further it sits out. It's just something that I wanted to bring up and make sure that if you're looking for this rack and you're interested in it and you have a smaller vehicle, then take that into consideration, because it can cause issues if you aren't aware of that. Another one is if you are someone who might be looking for a faster rack system. Maybe you have a rack that you just want to hang something on and there's not a lot of fuss about it, or you have something similar to the 1UP USA rack where you just actually ratchet something right there real quickly, or something like I had before I had this Vibrelli rack. It was just real simple motion. You just put the bike in and ratcheted it down. This Vibrelli V70 rack has a lot more complications and additions that add security and make it a more sturdy rack. But again, if you're looking for an efficient or an expedient rack system, then this might not be for you. And I was really trying to think of another con to this rack, but I really can't without really nitpicking something about it. I just had 2 cons, and those are kind of situational, and they're going to depend on the buyer. I think it's a great rack overall and has pretty much everything you need if you're looking for a rack, and especially if you're looking for a secure rack, and then even more so if you're looking for a secure rack for an e-bike, because that's really what this thing's made for. It's beefy, it's made of quality components, and it was actually quite simple to set up. There's just like 4 or 5 nuts and bolts, and it was good to go. You could have seen that in my unboxing that it didn't really take too long. It was like 30 minutes to get it out of the box and out of the driveway. So I think that's really cool. And they include the hardware to set this up if you don't have any tools at home. So that was my initial review and overall thoughts of the Vibrelli V70. if you're looking for a bike rack, I think it's a pretty good option, especially if you're in that $300 range. It's a really good, secure rack, and it has a lot of extras that you don't really get in that price point. There are competitors like Saris and Thule. You know, they're all just names. I think that Vibrelli is doing a good job. They have some other cycling accessories as well if you want to check out their website. It's vibrelli.com. You could also look on Amazon as well. But I think they're actually sold out of this bike rack at the moment because it's a pretty good rack. And if you have any other questions or concerns about this video or other videos that I've made, then just pop them in the comments below. That's pretty much it for this video. Don't forget to go out there and create your own adventure however you can. Spread some positivity. I'll see you on the next one. Mahalo.